what happened in 1987 when Tunku Razali and Musa Hitam decided to contest to become president and deputy president. Unfortunately, they lost, or fortunately, they lost. And as a result, they started Semangat 46 because they couldn't become the president of UMNO or deputy president of UMNO, so they can become the president of Semangat 46. But they soon realized that they cannot win elections by staying away from UMNO and joining up with the opposition. And because of that, they eventually came back and there was unity once more. Unfortunately, in 1998, we have a problem with the deputy prime minister. He was accused of sodomy and things like that, and he was expelled from the party. His reaction was to try and take away some of the Malays in UMNO in order to back him up, to make it a political issue rather than a legal issue. And so the Malays became divided again into Parti Keadilan. And there is less unity now because the struggle is not because of the desire to help the Malays catch up with the other races, to develop this country, to become a developed country as is the objective of Vision 2020. The struggle is about getting positions in the government, about becoming prime minister, about becoming ministers, about having power. And in some cases, they feel that if they have this position, they can make money for themselves. So because of this greed, we see the Malays are being split up. They don't know which direction they are going to take, and they feel disappointed, perhaps with poor leadership, and today they have lost their sense of direction. That is why you see them divided into various groups. The question is, as you say, whether this diversity is good or not. Now, there is already the division between the different races. And if you add this division between within the race, then of course the Malays who are already weak, surely in economic terms they are very weak, even in terms of education and positions in life, they are weak. Then if they are divided, they must become weaker still. And if they become weak, they cannot, they cannot do things in order to elevate the Malays to the same level as the non-Malays. So I would say that diversity may sound good, but it is really not good for the Malays. But there should be some opposition. I believe that we should have UMNO and PAS. Let PAS criticize UMNO, let UMNO criticize PAS. But if you have so many criticisms, some of which are not really valid, then of course the only result would be a reduction in the influence that the Malays will over the affairs of this country. Thank you.
Good morning, to Dr. Mahathir. My name is Dodi Ismoyo, Fanaya Fanasam, Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Indonesia. First of all, I would like to say there are three world leaders that I really admire. First is Genghis Khan from Mongolia, second is Deng Xiaoping from China, and third one is you from Malaysia. I've been reading a lot of books about you, The Secret of Malaysian Success, The Other Side of Mahathir, and of course what the director said, The Malay Dilemma, the controversial. I have two questions. The first is about national identity. In early 1957, when the British gained independence to Malaya, I do somehow understand the dilemma faced by Tunku Abdul Rahman to create a national identity because the number of Malays and Chinese are roughly more or less the same. But then, in 1961, when he proposed the formation of Malaysia by combining Singapore, Sarawak, and Sabah to become a greater country, I believe he knows that Singaporeans are Chinese majority, Sarawakians are Iban and Chinese majority, Sabah also there are a lot of non-Malays, Bumiputra. So it's like he tried to create things more colorful. It's like tried to make things getting further and further from creating a national identity. So, what do you think of his mind of creating this Malaysia? In terms of a national ideology, national identity. And secondly, like we all know, Indonesia and Malaysia, we always keep saying that we are negara serumpun, we are same but we are different. But because of this thing, we try to find similarity between us, but then actually we are different from the very beginning. Yes, same but different. So in recent years, there are always conflict appears between us. It's like these two countries has always this Cold War. We try to be better from each other. We try to talk bad about each other. We never try to be so tolerant to each other. Same case happens like between United States and Canada, Belgium and the Netherlands, same but different. So what do you think about this? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, today we have Malaysia. Before Malaysia, of course, there was Malaya. And we became independent as the Federation of Malaya, confined to the peninsula with the exclusion of Singapore. Now the British have a problem. They don't know what to do with Sabah and Sarawak, or British North Borneo and Sarawak, and also Singapore. The trend at that time was to give up their colonies. They have to give up their colonies because that's the requirement of the United Nations or world opinion. So how do they give up Singapore, Sabah and Sarawak? They believe that one way is to let them become independent by themselves. But if they do that, they, pardon my saying so, but they fear that Indonesia might gobble up Sabah and Sarawak and Brunei. So the British were always afraid of Indonesia of that time, Indonesia of Sukarno, where the communists are quite strong. So the British, I think, put the idea into the head of Tunku Abdul Rahman. Not exactly put the idea, because Tunku actually had this idea in mind, that there should be a bigger federation of Malaya to include Singapore, Sabah, Sarawak and Brunei. It seems to be a good idea. But the Tunku did not do his arithmetic well. He thought that the number of natives in Sarawak and Sabah are big enough to balance the rather big majority of Chinese in Singapore. So he went ahead, and as you know, Malaysia was formed with Singapore as one of